How's everybody doing today?
We're
Good,
well. We're doing
good.
good, man.
We
That is
finally got
good.
some nice weather out here. I'm in the middle of Wisconsin, so
Okay.
Wisconsin?
yeah, I
Wow.
know, right?
That's really random, but cool, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Milwaukee originally, but came up here
Okay.
for college and decided to
Yeah.
stay. And thanks to the internet, I get to meet wonderful individuals like yourselves. So,
Oh man.
yeah.
That's all you,
Appreciate that. I
man.
appreciate that. Yeah, thank
So,
you for taking the time to watch Panda and
No, seriously.
have us on and kind of think about the movie and yeah.
yeah, well, the film got me thinking quite a bit about it. It seems to be a common theme lately, grief.
Mm.
And I guess I should introduce everyone so my listeners can know.
Yeah, sure.
I've got Evan Kidd. How you doing today, sir? Director of Panda Barrett.
Hey, I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you on. And the star of Panda Barrett, Damien Elliott Bynum. Did I say that right?
Yes, yes.
All right.
That was a celebration for saying it right.
Well, with my last name, trust me, I know how that is.
How do you say
it? Easiest way to say it is Krawcheck. The CZY.
Crotcheck?
Yeah, the CZYK
Wow.
is a check sound for easy.
Wow.
If you have a Polish accent, like my grandfather loved his Polish heritage, it actually is pronounced more along the lines of Krawcheck, but trying to say where the F and no, Krawcheck is fine.
Well, I'm now going to say it with the Polish accent from here on out.
Oh, well, well, thank you.
Krawcheck.
Krawcheck, yeah. That good German Polish name where it sounds like you're just coughing all the time.
Right, exactly. I love it.
So, yeah, your film's Panda Barrett, and what I usually like to do, if you wouldn't mind, Evan, if you could give us this kind of a brief synopsis of what Panda Barrett is about, in case people don't know.
Yeah. So Panda Barrett is a bit of a comedy drama duo. It is about a guy who's sort of a fictional version of some real elements, some surreal elements. And it's based on Damien and his hip hop persona, Kamus Leonardo. And in the film version of Kamus is trying to write songs, trying to create an album, just trying to go through the creative motions that artists go through. But it's in the wake of the loss of his girlfriend, who was the love of his life. Her name was Destiny. And so he's in an interesting place when we pick up with him at the beginning of the film, because it's been about a year and it's that point of grief where society almost expects you to move on, but a lot of times there's no timeline on it. There's no this is the checklist of how you should be feeling, and obviously as a society we don't do a great job of that. So kind of wrapping a lot of that up in some drama, some comedy, some surrealism. Oh, and by the way, he sees a panda bear, so that's important too.
Just had to throw that in there.
I almost forgot. Forgot.
Yeah. Now, where did the idea for this come from? Initially,
the idea is wild. So I wanted to. I was gonna say there's not one way to tell this story, but to make a very long story short, I'd wanted to do a surreal kind of movie for a while, but I didn't really know what. And it was around the same time that I met Damien. It was 2018. We'd chatted on the internet and got to know each other that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually were talking about originally just collaborating on a music video, because at the time I was just doing a ton of music videos. And we were just let's just do a music video, keep it really casual. We had a song, and I was just what would happen if we put a panda in the music video? And it was kind of not that serious. I mean, there was not a metaphorical reason for it. I just thought it would be fun. I like panda bears. The costume was the cheapest one you could get online where we got it. So there was a financial reason there too. Convenience. Yeah. Cost effective. So yeah, just all that crap rolled into one. And basically we talked at this coffee shop. And Damien, if you want to add anything, but I'll just say we had a great conversation, and basically, long story short, we forgot about the music video entirely because we had a lot in common. We talked really deep about grief and depression, just a bunch of different stuff, philosophy, art, creation, blah, blah, blah. And then I was what would happen if I just took some of this stuff we talked about and connected with and put it into a full feature film? And a couple weeks went by and I wrote it, and then I gave Damien a script, and I wanted him to know I wasn't joking, because I know a lot of people were what if we did this, and they never scroll back around. So,
it was crazy. I mean, Evan pretty much covered everything. We just kind of talked about our lives, and then we just combined our stories as well as like a story from a general perspective.
Yep.
And Evan kind of had in mind to where he knew he wanted to create something bigger than a music video, but it wasn't really like a featured film. But I could tell just based upon our conversation, he really wanted to expand his comfort zone. So I was all in there. I was ready. I was like, let's do this. And lo and behold, he sends me a script and I was intimidated. I was just like, okay, he's for real. Like he's serious. And that's all she wrote from there, or he wrote from there.
Yeah.
So.
And this was Damien's first time acting, I gotta say.
Yeah,
He
first time
killed it.
ever.
I know I'm biased, but he killed it.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I will say, Damien, I was very impressed that this was your first role because you seem to you put a lot into it. You create a very sympathetic character, a character I think, especially in today's day and age, because we're going to bring up the pandemic. I think a lot of people are dealing with grief, and it really felt real. How much of yourself did you throw into this role?
All of myself. The reason why is because similar to the movie where I lost my girlfriend, I lost my mother in 2016. And just kind of dealing with that loss and being in that space of not wanting to, you know, commit suicide, but also not wanting to exist. So you're kind of in a gray area. And I was there before. And I kind of just had to kind of channel back into that time period within the movie. And I had to bring my A game because like I said, or like Evan said, this was my first time acting. But also this was a way for me to heal in a sense, you know, to where I get to showcase the trials and tribulations. And, you know, a lot of times we look at the results of things and we kind of just base it upon that, but nobody really gets to see the process. Right. So this was a great opportunity for me to show the process of how I got to where I am today. And the best part about it was it's not just my process, it's our process as human beings. We all have to, you know, go through that process of grieving, of releasing, of self-reflection, of doubting yourself, living in fear at a point, you know. And it's just really learning how to deal with all of those emotions, but being okay with those emotions as well, because we're in a society to where we're pressured to not deal with things, especially as men. You know how it is for us with toxic masculinity. So it was a great opportunity for us to like showcase that, hey, we all are feeling things that we don't know how to put in words. Sometimes we don't even know what it is, but let's figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that comes across very well through your performance and through the writing. Now, Evan, you knew you had a kind of a limited budget you were working with. Did that affect kind of how you wrote the film and your process with how you planned things out to shoot this?
100%. Yeah. It's like I always just assume I have no budget because I don't. Like, you know, I've made movies before, so that like helps understanding that you can do a lot with a little. You just have to get creative in it. And a lot of that comes back to like the writing process and the planning process. You know, I didn't write something where there were like 100 panda bears following him around because like I couldn't afford that many costumes. You know, it's just one. And so you kind of just like shrink everything down. And like a lot of people say that's putting limitations, but I actually find a lot of growth and creativity come from limitations personally. And so I just kind of ran with that process throughout. And I think it opened some interesting doors because, you know, we focused a lot on dialogue, a lot on like one-on-one interactions. It was a cool way to do it, I think. Yeah.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot, Damien, a little. How collaborative was it to put together this character with Evan? Was he the strict director, or did you have a lot of input on what to bring to this character?
Well, Evan would make us stand in the corner and time out if we didn't get our lines right. And, you know, during that process, it definitely taught me a lot as far as to become a great actor. So I will have to say, no, I'm just joking. Let me stop. Evan was just really, I would have to say, this was probably the best collaborative project on anything artistic that I've ever worked on. I think the reason why is because Evan is he does a really good job at adjusting. You know, And there were some moments to where, you know, we may have not gotten the shot that we wanted, or, you know, the environment may not have been, you know,
cooperative
with
Yeah.
us, you know. But at the same time, you couldn't even tell with Evan. He was just like, all right, you know what, let's just do this. And but the best part about that was he even knew like this was a team effort. So it wasn't all like, what do I think? What do I think? What do I think? He was very collaborative in the sense to where he was like, hey, what do you guys think we should do? And he was very open. And I felt like that poured into the movie, just the overall chemistry with everyone from behind the scenes to on the screen. So I would have to say this was probably, I'm not even just saying this, I'm not even being biased, I promise. But like really it was a great environment and inspirational, which is why I felt the need to bring my A game, because it felt like a family on set. And even the actors, we had to hold the boom mic and hold the reflect. Like he put us to work. But it was fun. It was fun because I think during that experience, it was a learning experience for me, to where it made me appreciate movies a lot more. Not just, oh, I like that actor or that actress. It's more so, oh, I see how they created that scene. And then just learning about cinematography through Evan. It was just learning the levels, and I was like, whoa. So now how I view movies is a lot different now, for sure.
That's true spirit of indie cinema, is everybody does a little bit of everything. There's not a whole lot of room of ego on sets, because you're like, you got to hold the boom today. What?
I mean, I'll just add, I mean, that whole mantra of just no ego on indie film set, I believe that wholeheartedly. And that's a PS, that's what I love about Damien, is like he's such a jokester sometimes, but he also brings the serious too. Like he brings that balance of levity on set, like especially when we're doing those heavier moments in Panda. Like, you know, we know what we're about when we're making those scenes, but like we can still have a good time between the takes. You know, while still getting what we need to do. Like it's a great collaboration, in that like I feel I can trust, you know, Damien or any of my actors, is because especially with this role, so much of what Damien is going through is a lot of what he actually went through. And he knows those emotions. And, you know, I know some of my life experience through similar emotions, but it's not exactly the same. And then obviously the character story is different. So we're really just all trusting each other to, you know, lean on each other, say, what can I do better? How can you help me if I'm not getting a take I need? If I'm not communicating correctly as a director, I think, okay, how can I communicate this better? A lot of times I think of myself, and that's what I don't like about, I'm a weird director, in that I'm not like, you know, I love Stanley Kubrick, but you know, I'm not that like,
you're not 147 times we're gonna
do this. I'm not the go stand in the corner or go do that line until you can't speak and you can't make words. Like, I'm
stand in timeout.
Right. I'm not about that. Like I'm just so much more of this. It's a collaboration, like Damien said. It's about seeing the parts that make the whole, and it's about like really trusting people to do what they need to do. And if you've communicated as a director, by the time you get on set, if you've done the work ahead of time, you should be able to put those things together to get, you know, a pretty good stew out of the whole equation. But I think of it more like a coach. Like I really think that like my job is to ensure everyone else is happy, everyone else is doing the work that they feel good about, and how am I inspiring, communicating, and delivering as this person who's, you know, yes, there's that perception of like steering the ship, but at the same time, it's like, you know, we're all putting our hands on the wheel to make this thing go.
Nice. So the cast, you mentioned you had actors. Did you do a lot of casting, or were this a lot of people that you knew? A mixture?
It was a good combination. Obviously, like the whole thing started with Damien, and then once we had the script and I had Damien down to do the role, I started, you know, reaching out to people I'd worked with before. Eric Hartley was in my first feature film, and then of course there were other, shout out Eric. There were other folks who I'd worked with. The role of Rhonda, she, you know, I worked with her through music videos before in the past. And a couple other folks, shout out, just shouting out everyone. I mean, I could go down the list, but like, there were also people I just put like a general casting call out for. And I was just like, if you're trying to, you know, give up your weekends for a few weeks and just like make some weird art about a panda bear and a guy grieving, let's go, let's do it. So luckily I found people who were down. So.
It's just so crazy to think back on it, to be like, wow, people are really inspired by a rapper
Yeah.
and a panda.
Yeah. I think
Like if
people,
you
yeah,
like, that's crazy. Like, hey, we're gonna
I
make a
love that.
movie and it's about a rapper and a panda, but the rapper is grieving, right?
Yep.
So, and the panda follows him around. So it's like, all right, I'm
Well,
down.
and I think too, that's what's cool is like
No,
it's
it's
a
amazing.
story of like a dude who's not famous yet. He's like
Yeah.
working on his come up, but he's talented. And I feel like
Mhm.
we never see that represent. I mean,
Never.
Damien, we've talked about this personally.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you never see that in media much. It's like
Mhm.
people are always like just getting started or they're
Mhm.
100% famous and there's like no in between, I feel like.
Exactly. And it's the surrealism behind it as well. A lot of times, especially in this society we live in America, we're set to believe that quit your job, go full on, da 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 da. Mind you, there are bills that needs to be paid. You have to eat. You have to. It's responsibilities that has to be done. You know. So I think the best part about this movie was just the honesty. And how genuine it was, to where it showed like, hey, you can still work your job, but use that job to invest into what it is that you want to do.
Right.
So instead of telling people what to do and how to do it, it was just suggesting different perspectives, you know, to where it's like, hey, don't feel bad for working this job, you know, like keep doing what it is you got to do, just set a plan. And that was the character Kamus in the movie didn't have a plan. And we all have a tendency in our lives to where we just drift, you know, we just kind of I mean, I'll get to it whenever I get to it, you know. And I think it just shows the honesty of what we all go through as people every day. Because I could have been, you know, that rapper that's like, oh, I gotta work every day, I gotta record every day. No, like I like naps, you know, like I like doing other things too. There's so much more to life, but that's what I really love about this movie. It's just it covers the life aspect, not just the artistic aspect.
Yeah. And there's so much like I said, there's so much existing media if you're looking for that. Like that, we don't need to add to that pool. I mean, like, like you said, that's part of what, like, slightly off topic, but that's like part of what the pandemic has taught me personally. It's that I love Evan Kidd the filmmaker, but I've really used this year to work on Evan Kidd the person.
Yes.
And also, just like you said, take naps, play PlayStation, do things that are just mundane and boring. Like I hadn't touched a video game in years, and like I've played like 4 of them and like put like 30 hours in a campaign of a game, and I'm like, dang, I feel like I'm 16 and I love that. Like,
no, seriously,
you know, it's fun. Yeah,
this pandemic was like a dopamine detox.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying the pandemic's been perfect. Like, it's been real hard too. But like,
oh yeah, for sure,
using different elements of it, like, you know, where you can learn something from it, it has been helpful. And I fully realize that's not everyone's experience, but
no, for sure,
yeah,
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys said, it comes through, and I think people don't realize artists have downtime.
Yes.
You know, I think, you know, there's, I mean, you've heard it in some songs, you know, like you know, Seeger, you know, Turn the Page, where he talks about being on the road and people are seeing the entertainer. They're not seeing the person who's sitting in a bus for 15 hours while you're driving to the next gig.
Yes.
And you got to practice and get the stuff going. And you know, and I think people lose that, and you do have that come across here. And I'm gonna say, I'm sitting here and I'm going, dude, just get up off your couch, man. I was sitting there the whole time, Damien. I'm like,
balls,
going, how much budget went to cheese balls? I gotta.
Everyone asks this. Everyone asks this.
A lot. So after the movie, when we got our $1 billion checks, my first thing to do was to get the cheese balls surgically removed. So that pretty much was the game plan.
Yeah,
after the movie. Yeah, you know, once I did
turn down several sponsorships from cheese ball companies.
Yeah, it was, the business was immaculate, man. I was just like, wow. All we did was eat cheese balls, and it was cash grab.
Right, totally.
Chester Cheetah kept calling you, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Chester Cheetah said I was his role model.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, and that's what I loved about some of the subtlety in the film was the cheese balls was on one end, it was a good comedic gimmick because you always had them every time you were in your room. You had
Yes.
them, and
Yeah.
wherever you went. But at
Yeah.
the same time, you start to realize all this guy's eating is cheese ball. All he's just
Yes.
sitting there. He's not
Yes.
moved on.
At all.
And
I didn't try anything new. I just stuck to what was comfortable for me.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, and I loved Kimberly Avery, who played Grandma. I loved
Yes,
her. Oh
man.
man.
That see how you say get up off the couch. That was Kim.
Yeah.
That was Kim. She brought that energy. Like
Yup.
I'm going to take you on a date. Where have you been? Took my car for 3 days. You better be lucky I was off. Like yeah, she definitely brought that energy, man. Shout out to Kim.
She felt like someone's grandma. She really did. I thought I heard my grandma for a little
Yup.
bit.
No, seriously. No, and that's what I loved about her character, man. Like she's very versatile and she was just able to first of all, it's just crazy how in the film it looks like we're almost as if we're like a family, mind you, we all just met recently.
Yup.
So in that short period of time for that chemistry to be built, I gotta give props to Evan, man, because he was the one who created that environment for us. Because going back to what we were saying earlier, we all left our egos at the door. So we everybody played their role. And even as the lead role, I didn't come on set like, all right, y'all, we're gonna go off of me and I'm the star. Da, 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 da. I was a sponge. I was just like, okay, how do you want to do it? How can I feed off of you? Evan, how was that? All right, should we switch it up? Like I was listening more than acting as if I was a star. I forgot I was a star sometimes because I wanted to create an opportunity for when people watch the movie, you have different favorite characters. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like Evan did a great job with the script with that. Because it's like, although you have a lead character, you still have a sort of attachment to somebody could like the farmer, somebody could like the grandma, somebody could relate to Marcus, somebody could relate to the people who's out in the farm, like do we say homeless
posse.
or like the posse, because I didn't want to be like homeless people, but like
the posse,
the posse out in the woods, you know what I mean? And even Evan, like he had a cameo in the movie, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
I deleted most of it and edited. I could not stomach myself. I was like, I am an idiot. I can't do this. And I left just the littlest sliver because like the whole point is he meets different people and there's a lesson after each person. So I was like, let me get just enough for him to get the lesson from my character and then just delete the rest of myself.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then even with Rhonda, like Rhonda was kind of the big sister / manager, like the tough love aspect that sometimes we need to get up and, because sometimes in that moment we want to be coddled. We want to be, babied and, oh, tell me what I want to hear. And it's like, nah, like you're not coming to work like this. What are you doing? You used to be great. What happened?
Yeah.
So it was just amazing, man. Just the everything.
Yeah, I just loved the cast of characters that you had, because even though, like you said, it's a comedy and drama, or like some say dramedy or whatever, these people didn't quite feel like caricatures. These felt like real people. I mean, where I grew up, I'm like, I've met all these people.
Seriously. And that's what I love about it. It's just so relatable to where you can relate to any and everyone in the movie, And that's the best part about the movie itself. Is just, even if you're going to take one thing from there, at least one thing, even if you can't relate on the grief aspect, there's one thing throughout the movie that you can take from it that's familiar to you. And like I said, man, shout out to Evan for even having the genius mind frame to bring so much talent together, but have that equilibrium to where it's focused on the bigger picture, no pun intended, but like, it's focused more so on the message than just, okay, who's the funniest, who's the meanest, who's this, who's that. It was just, we all came in and he was the coach and we wanted to win. That's it.
Well, you do win for sure.
Thanks,
I hope
man.
you don't mind me bringing it up, but Evan, I was impressed with this script because you have a very diverse cast, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it is the character interactions. And I like to say, I hope you don't mind me say this, but it
Say
didn't
it.
get like cliche racial tensions anywhere in this film. It's just people interacting with each other, and race nearly, didn't enter into it. I got a little worried, all honesty, when you're in the farmer, because I'm in central Wisconsin. Okay,
Yeah.
I've
No,
met I've
I
met
understand.
people, but
Yeah.
I loved the interaction
Mhm.
between you and Eric Hartley. That's probably my favorite moments in this. Was just you
Yeah.
have two people from two different lifestyles and worlds, and you're just
Mhm.
talking and sharing.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I mean, how much did you do a lot of pre-talk with Eric, Damien, before you did those scenes, or how did those go? Because
We literally just joked around,
Mhm.
and I played Xbox with his son, Plants vs Zombies.
Oh, nice.
And his
Great
other
game.
son was
Sure.
on TikTok tying his shoe very fast, and I was very mad because I couldn't tie my shoe as fast. Like literally, the chemistry. Man. First of all, Eric Hartley is one of the most beautiful spirits I've ever came across.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I think what really brought us together on a serious note, though, was the fact that he lost his father in real life, and I lost my mother.
Mm.
So we were able to tap into that and share that moment with each other. But you would think like that was the whole focus outside of the movie just because of the energy we brought. But seriously, man, we were just joking around the whole time. Like he let me take a dump at his house. You know what I mean? Like that's love,
That's
bro.
love right there. That's trust.
That's love. And it was the downstairs bathroom right near the front door. Like
Oh,
that's
wow.
love. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, yeah.
that's the type of stuff people don't really talk about. But like
Damien will give you the stuff you won't find on the DVD bonus feature.
exactly. Like Evan has a director's cut. If it was like all of us sitting down with each other, I could only imagine everyone's stories. Like whether that's behind the
That's
scenes.
part 2.
No, seriously, because it's like it's moments to where I even forget about, and I'll think
Yeah.
about like, whoa, wow, I forgot that happened. You know, even on the farm
Mhm.
when we pulled up to the farm,
Oh yeah.
there was this one horse. I don't remember the name of the Lake Waccamaw, right?
Lake Waccamaw. There was a horse that
Yeah.
kept trying to get in the shot, and it was
Yes.
like neighing, and we couldn't use the take because it was so
Yes.
loud. And there was like a horse running around, and at first I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be nice in the background," but like it legitimately kept messing up the shot because it was
Yes.
furious. Like,
Hey, you remember the black cow, that scene where the
Yeah.
panda was like, had the Cheetos, was like,
Yep.
hey, where's the food?
that
And
was
then-
not
Yeah.
planned. We just started filming.
No,
'Cause it
seriously.
came up
Really?
to us. Yeah.
Yes, the cow was creeping, bro. It was just like, it was like this. Hold on. Like here we are, and the cow was
Yep.
like,
The cow wanted that IMDb credit so bad. It was willing to do whatever. It was like trying to just be like, "Can I hold the boom pole? Do you need a
no,
hand
seriously.
set?" Whatever. It was a super cool cow. So,
Yeah,
Oh,
the
that's-
cow was like, this is my moment.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take it.
the cow
Oh
was
yeah,
about-
even the other
awesome.
horse. You remember the other horse that like led the way?
Yeah.
That was like
Mhm.
bossy. The
Yep.
bossy horse. It was just like, yeah, I'm great.
There was like a very happy, like that horse was waiting its life for this.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it was living
no,
its best
seriously.
life, and you love to see it.
Seriously.
How'd you pick the locations, Evan? Were these people you knew, or did you search them out for your location settings, or?
Yeah. So I would say, a lot of it was what we had. I mean, resource-based filmmaking is kind of my name of the game. So, obviously favors, we filmed at Damien's actual place. We filmed at my brother's actual place. Eric, his wife, actually hooked up the farm for us, which super grateful, because that was going to be the hardest thing to, pull off, is like getting on a farm to film.
Yes.
And so she had the hookup for Lake Waccamaw, which is in kind of the rural part of the state in the eastern North Carolina. So we
Mhm.
drove about 2 hours out there and got those shots. And then, everything else was like people's houses, different places like that. Bull City Sound Studio in Durham. That's where
Yes.
Damien would like go to record. So yeah, it would be just like a bunch of stuff like that, which was super cool. to be able to like pull off. And we were very lucky that the community, that's the thing, the community just a lot of times we want to film where home is, you know, we're not going to New York or LA, you know, we want to film here in North Carolina. And that was actually like baked into the story too. So we wanted to keep it authentic.
And that comes across. I mean, it fits with your characters quite a bit, that authenticity. So how how willing was Melissa Cohen Rattray? She's wearing the Panda costume for most of the for the movie.
99% of it. Yep. Let me just tell you, that costume, obviously our budget was limited, and so the costume I think was partially defective because there was supposed to be a way to see through the mouth, and you could sort of see but not super well, so we kind of had to be like the airplane, you know, like when the airplane lands, there's the guy out there with the light sticks and he's like, come this way. We really had to do that. And she was so awesome, like she was such a trooper, and she just like never complained, but she'd be like, just so you know, I can see through this one hole in the costume, and the big viewer that they're supposed to have built in is not working. So of course that was not a thing. And then the costume started falling apart halfway through because it was so cheap. And so we started like holding it up with like duct tape and gaff tape and just, I mean, just anything you could imagine. That costume it held on for the shoot. So that's all it had to do, you know? Yeah.
I would have to say, like, she definitely went off of instinct, like majority of the time. It was amazing how she just kind of knew what was going on. As long as like Evan gave her an outline, she literally did the rest. Like she was just like, oh, okay, cool. Boom, boom, boom.
And like her sense of physical timing, obviously in the costume, you know, you don't have the eyes, which are like the windows to the soul, so you can't rely on that. Everything is like your actions, how you sit, how you slouch, how you wave, you know, anything you do, like that's how you're emoting as Panda. And she did that like a pro. I mean, that was like her first time in a, you know, big costumed role that covers up your face, but you know, she still felt super expressive, which I mean, that's all credit to her. Like that was so impressive to me.
And those maternal instincts, man.
Yeah, she talked about that.
Yeah,
she did
maternal
say
instincts.
A lot of Panda's character was so her improvisation as a mother, she said, with her own kids, lent into Panda, because she said she kind of was able to improvise, you know, do things, gestures, make people laugh. Like there's a great moment in the movie where like she flips this the cheese ball jar, and it flips upside down, and then it like lands perfectly on this stump, and then she was just like, and then it made this organic moment out of something that was not even planned. So
I think because we all we cheered in the background.
We didn't expect it, and then I started laughing and shaking the camera. I left a little bit of that in the scene, and then someone on Letterboxd saw that and left us a review that was like, I feel like that scene must have had the cameraman laughing. And then I like replied to that person on Twitter, and I was like, you're correct, that's exactly what happened. And then the actual Letterboxd account went and retweeted us, so I was like, hey, I appreciate that. You know, it was like all those little elements of,
and that was the first take too, right?
Yeah, it was the first take. I was like, we're not gonna get it that good again, we're gonna go with that. It was a good time.
Now,
it was.
She was also the one who played the Destiny character, correct? So and I love those scenes between you, Damien, and her as well. Those felt you felt the emotion, and I mean, they're beautifully shot.
Man,
I'm gonna tell you right now, watching this indie film, and I'm like, some of the cinematography in here, especially with those scenes with you two, were beautiful.
That was all Evan's eye, man. Like the timing, because I don't want to drop the cheat code right now because I know we're in the public, but just how that came about, it was just so wild, and just the timing and everything. But literally, I think Evan was just like, yo, the sun's going down, let's go ahead and knock it out. And just the shots, and one of my favorite scenes is Panda walking away and like the field. Like, man, when I tell you, like, it's so weird being there and then seeing it, because like we were just cold, and then like we're just watching a panda wave. So I'm like, okay, this is cool, you know what I mean? I'm like, but I'm kind of cold though, I'm not even gonna lie. But then watching it on the movie, man, I was like, Wow. So yeah, definitely shout out to Evan for the cinematography for sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I mean, that's what was wild is so this was my first time shooting a feature by myself, also directing. So normally I work with a cinematographer, so I prefer to do it. Still how I prefer to do it. It's just, one less thing to worry about. However, the way this film was coming about was character of fall was so important to me. Like the fall season was the background of this film because it's obviously very representative of like the transitional time and the transition that Damien his character is facing. And so that was my big thing. And so the cinematographer I was originally going to work with wasn't available. So then it came down to like, okay, I need to shoot this myself in fall of 2019 or wait till fall of 2020. And obviously fall of 2020 wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah, that would have been made things difficult.
Yeah, I'm really glad I did. And like, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it's just nice to know I could do that. I'd shot music videos before, but never something this big by myself. And, I just tried to really take it slow. And luckily I had an awesome cast that was like willing to help me out, hold a boom pole here and there. And like, we just all collaborated. And like what Damien was saying is like, I really do felt like we got the cheat code on that day. Like it felt like someone like blessed us with that situation because like we looked outside Eric's house and the sun was setting. We were originally thinking about going to the beach to film it because Eric lives about 40 minutes from the beach. And so we thought about doing that, but I was like, by the time we get to the beach park, get there, I think we're going to miss the sunset. And it was beautiful in his yard. So we just went behind his yard and that whole field was there. And we just lucked out and just shot it all, improvised it a little earlier than we planned in the production schedule. And that's what we went with. So it was super cool. Yeah.
I would have to say, man, this overall movie was a spiritual journey as well. I personally feel as if a higher power, anybody, the earth, anybody, God, however you want to say it, man, like the universe, everything was literally in tune with what we were doing. I'm talking about even with the shots of me in the sleeping bag at night and the fact that we were able to create these illusions with people's backyards,
because that was in your backyard.
We seriously
together with
seriously
daytime location 2 hours away.
Exactly. But just the overall environment, from I'm talking about the weather to the animals to the bugs. Like when we were laying down shooting it was spiders crawling around and stuff. But thankfully the spider wasn't like, intimidated by it. So it was just kind of like, oh, okay, they're just shooting.
Spider was just vibing out.
Yeah, he was just like, okay, let me just see if I could be in the movie real quick, But man, it was just a beautiful experience overall. And that's something I feel like all of us can remember forever and just take with us forever for sure.
Damien, you're a recording artist in your own right.
Yes,
and so how much did performing on stage and, doing your music, how much did that prepare you for doing acting? Could you pull from that experience at all?
That's a great question. That is a really good question. I would have to say yes, a lot, because when it comes to music, you are kind of acting in a sense, not more so on film, but I created this concept that I came up with when it comes to movies. Like with movies, you have motion pictures, and with music, you have emotion pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to like performing live, a lot of songs that I've made are from the past. So when it comes to especially speaking on my mother's passing and just rough emotional times, like I could be in a complete happy space. You have to trick your brain into being in that moment so that people can feel with you and connect. Because imagine just me talking about something tragic and I just got the biggest smile on my face. I lost the love of my life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's like cool lyrics, but it's not going to connect.
Yeah.
But I will have to say performing live before COVID and just the times that I did has helped me shape into learning how to channel that. Although it's a different ball game for sure, but I would say that experience has helped definitely.
Now, Damien, how long have you been doing the recording music and being a hip hop artist?
Well, man, I've always been a writer. I wrote my first 2 books in the 2nd and 3rd grade. Literally, it was a play on Space Jam. and
Nice.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So
Oh, nice.
the Space Jam one was called A Whole Lot of Shaking Going On, and it was literally like the same concept, but like instead of Looney Tunes, it was like, this is kind of weird, but it was like little people.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, because I feel like that's the proper term. I didn't want to say the M word.
No, yep.
But it was like little people, but still
Mhm.
aliens and stuff. And then the Go to School was like a journey for kids to go off to college or something. I was young.
Sure.
I was just like, all right. And then sixth grade, I wrote poetry. And that's kind of when I started to transition into that. And to be honest with you, my mother, she wrote my very first rap for a project. And I presented it for class, and everyone stood up and they were like, "Man, did you write it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I went home. I was like, "Mom, like, I lied. I said that I wrote it." And then she was like, "Okay, well, now it's on you." And for the longest, when I first started rapping, man, like I was doing it to impress my mother, and she could tell. And I wasn't really telling my true story. And she was just like, "You know what? Like, you got to tell your story." And ever since I got the green light from the sensei, I was like, you know what? I gotta do it. And then I gotta say, man, ever since then, like it's just been great. Like I'm talking about even back when we had house phones and we would have three-way. I would literally call my friends who had three-way, and they would call their friends who had three-way. And they would just sit on the phone and listen to me rap for hours.
Oh, that's
to be real with you, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I don't think I was talking about anything, honestly. I just made words rhyme and it just sounded cool. And nobody was really like doing that. So, but all in all, man, I would have to say I started taking it serious 2010. And it's 2021 now. So 11 years, man, definitely been going strong. And now I'm finally starting to see the fruition pay off. Like it took time. It took some time.
Well, and hopefully being in the movie gets you some exposure too.
No, let me tell you something, man. Like this was a blessing. This was a
Sure.
blessing for because even Evan hit me up the other day, actually, and he was just like, "Man, like you don't know how many people have watched a movie and was telling me that they listened to your music afterwards." And what was crazy was my intent wasn't coming into it by, "Oh, this is going to be a great opportunity for people to know me as an artist." My mentality was, how can I help out a friend create his vision and put it to life? And that just taught me about just like creating art and being genuine with it as a whole, because I can only imagine if I went into there with that mentality of trying to take, but I just went with the mentality of giving. And with the giving, it came back tenfold, and I'm just very appreciative of that, because for everything to tie all together and everything to correlate is just a blessing, And but that just inspired me to kind of go even harder, and just to kind of show people like, hey, you don't have to, like Evan was saying, you don't have to go to a big city, you don't have to go to an oversaturated market, like create it here. And that's why I always love what Evan does, not did, but what he does on a day-to-day basis, man. He's just like, yo, like, let's do this homegrown, let's do this here, like let's not wait on a big budget, let's not wait for someone to hand it to us, let's just create it our own. And even from the movie, he's just inspired me to move like that through my artistry, because actually recently I just got a placement on the video game Fortnite for my song, or from one of my singles, Alignment.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you, man. And that's also been helping me out. But going back to the ownership and not waiting for someone, I was able to clear the check, not only from the production standpoint, because two of my friends helped me out with it, so we just split it evenly, but on the publishing side, I was able to clear that because there's this book called How to Learn About the Music Business by Donald S. Passman that I've been reading for a while. And it's just, it teaches you how to represent yourself if you're moving as an indie artist. And I just think the independent route is glorified a lot, but a lot of people don't really understand the hard work that's put into it, because they just, like we were saying earlier, they just hear the results, but the stuff that we do, all three of us, every day, they don't see the grit, the grind, and the times to where we don't feel like doing it. We're just like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I'm just going to procrastinate. I don't feel like reviewing the movie today. I don't want to review Panda Bear. I'm not in the mood. Like, you know, it's just it's people don't understand that. That's why I enjoy conversations like these with you guys, because it's a great reminder that we're all in this together. Doesn't matter which route we took when it comes to the independent route, but we all need each other at the end of the day. We can't do it by ourselves. And I think that's the beauty of it, man, for sure.
Well, Evan, there's parallels, you would say, wouldn't you, with indie filmmaking and indie music production in a way? You go through a lot of those trials as well, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. 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 Like so much of what Damien just said, like in slightly different ways, but also very similar ways, applies, because the indie film world is so glorified and it is so full of, you can do it, anyone can make a movie, get your iPhone, go, go, go. And like that's super important, because I think that's opening the door to everyone. And I think that's that's like the first hurdle, which used to be an iron gate that was shut 30 years ago, because you didn't have Hollywood cameras, you didn't have a producer, blah 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 blah. Now that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're going to make the next Star Wars, but it just means you can. And so then you're able to walk through that gate, and now you get to look at the other 20 gates that you couldn't even look at before. And so it's just a series of figuring out those obstacles. And I think, like Damien said, if you're willing to hang in there and really not look at things as just one project, you have to look at the long timeline. I always say this is a long game. It's a long road ahead. It's not about just Panda Barrett, or it's not about my first film. It's not about the next film I'm writing. It's all about a long haul. And it's just about being consistent and taking time for yourself. And I mean, when I have changed so much as a artist and as a person, as we all do, but like when I first made my first movie, like I look at myself and I'm like, oh, you're a baby. Like I look at that version of myself and I'm like, you're so naive. You think this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And I was so focused on one film. And it's all about the long picture and creating opportunities for others. And like Damien said, really creating a community. That's what I've been about, is like not moving to New York or LA, and like really trying to create a community here in North Carolina. And obviously, like if they offer me Star Wars, I'll go do it. But I'd love to bring some of that back here, you know. And it's like, I'm not saying I'm above any of that, but you know, it's just about that long-term creativity, which that interests me much more than one project. So
for sure.
Well, that's what's great about the internet. Not only do we get to have conversations like this, I mean, you're in North Carolina, I'm here in the middle of Cow Hump, Wisconsin. But you know, what's also great is you can put yourself out there. Like you just keep going though. I think people miss that. I just do, you know, that's my approach, is just, I just do. I have to create something, whether or not I get 1 view or 10 views, I just keep producing. And I've been doing this for a long time. And while I may not be as big as far as popularity or subs or whatever you want to call your social media value, as long as it's not that up there that high, but I got to meet so many fantastic people over this journey. And that's meant more to me than that, because I've learned so much just from our conversation today and talking to other indie filmmakers, you know, and I've gotten opportunities to talk to people I never thought I would get a chance to talk to, you know. But you got to keep going. I think if you guys probably agree, I think if you go into it going, I'm going to make money, I'm doing this to make money, I'm going to just, you know, I'm going to be big, and I'm going to be, while it's good to have goals, don't go in it just because you think you're going to get the cha-ching, because you're not. There's so much out there. You got to do it for what you love.
No, seriously.
1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, I mean, I'll just say, like, exactly what you said. Like, whether it's my films, I do like YouTube videos just to try to like share some of this filmmaking. I won't even call it knowledge, just like what worked for me, maybe, because like that was my biggest struggle starting. Like, how do I do this? And like I felt like there weren't that many places, and I'm like, well, if I can help someone else start, I feel like that's going to take off, you know, some burden from them. So like that's why I do YouTube stuff. And it's never been for me about, you know, subscribers or, you know, so like views. I mean, it's nice. I'm not going to say I don't look at that stuff. I mean, it's how
Well,
you
you
grow
do,
and how
you
you
do.
plan.
You want to see
Yeah,
someone
yeah. I
look at
mean,
it, at least one person.
yeah, but like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's like if 40 people look at it, that's crazy. Like think of putting 40 people in a room. Like
Mhm.
that's really cool. And it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be 40,000. And if it is 40,000, then great. But it's not the be all end all. And I think like when I talk to people who have kind of like stopped making stuff or like kind of shifted gears, I'm like, why was that? They're like, oh, it just didn't take off. I'm like, well, but you only did it for a year. Like, I'm not saying they have to do it. If their heart wasn't in it, that's fine. But, I feel like again, so much of this, it's not one project. It's not like 1 year. It's a
Mhm.
long-term thing. Yeah.
It is. Well, and you got to create, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
You do. Yeah.
Damien, for you as an artist, though, with the technology out there, that must make it a little bit more open more doors for you, because now you can kind of connect with Evan here and shoot your
Mhm.
own music videos. You don't need to get signed with a studio so they can hook you up with a director and shoot your videos. You can shoot
Right.
your own stuff, right, with people
Right.
and Evan. And have you done some of that in your career?
For sure, man. My mentality has always been invest into people and not money.
Mhm.
The reason why is because I could literally have a pile of money sitting on my bed behind me, but it has no value. It's not worth anything. But we as people, we create the transactions at the end of the day. So, from a business perspective, if you invest into people, the money will come.
Mhm.
But for me personally, I'm just a very compassionate person. I feel like I could learn something from any and everyone. And as I was saying earlier, we all need each other,
Mhm.
in this ecosystem that we have as far as creatives throughout the internet. And I have been able to utilize it to my advantage because just the relationships I've built and the people I've met, such as you, Mark,
Mhm.
like this is our first time meeting and we're talking as if we've known each other for a while, and I feel like energy never lies, man.
Right.
Energy never lies. And I feel like uh, we have to learn how to utilize this to our advantage because there is that downfall when it comes to social media and the internet that I still battle with every day, such as comparing myself to others from
Mhm.
time to time, and just really seeing what's popular and what's hot and feeling like I'm not that. So like what does that mean, but at the end of the day, like you said, Mark, you just got to keep going, man. You can't get caught up in that. And I just appreciate moments like these because it shows that we're real people at the end of the day,
Mhm.
beyond what we present on the internet. We're just real people, man. We just love what we're doing and just living life every day, making the days count.
And I think people forget that sometimes, that whoever they see, celebrity or whatnot, online is just a real person. I always say
Yeah.
that, you're it's a little disgusting, but I always say your hottest supermodel, she had Taco Bell one time and had diarrhea. So there you go.
Yes. No,
She's
seriously. And she probably didn't wash her hands,
no, she probably didn't wash her hands either.
like
But it's
seriously.
Taco Bell that makes us all human.
But it
That's
is
Exactly.
Taco Bell that
because
brings us
no one
together.
drives by a Taco Bell and is like, "There's one thing I want." There's always something. You may not
Of
admit it. There's
course.
always one thing
Of
you want. And
course.
they
Of
brought back the
course.
potato stuff. For anyone listening, just so you know,
Hey,
Yeah,
there you go. Well,
yeah,
Taco Bell unites the world,
it
right?
it
does.
does.
Especially if you go by Demolition Man, which yeah, Damien, are you a big film fan?
Man, I could sit here and lie to you guys and say I'm one of the best film critics, but my film watching is kind of limited.
Sure.
I would have to say like talking to Evan, he kind of puts me on to new movies. A friend of ours, Tim, he puts me on the new movies, and I like discussing things with filmmakers because first of all, it helps me understand their psyche a lot
Hmm.
more and how they find their inspiration, but also just being open to new things, man.
Right.
Like, but as far as films, I do watch it,
Hmm.
but like I have a weird selection. I'm like
Sure.
more of comedy. Uh
Hmm.
I'm more of like wholesome family films.
Nothing
Ew.
wrong with
But
nothing wrong with those. Some of those are really good.
and I really like animation, man.
Oh, there you
I
go.
aspire I
Hmm.
aspire to be a voiceover actor one day for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, I would have to say it varies, man. It just
Hmm.
depends on the mood for
Sure.
sure. Yeah.
Sure. Evan, what about you? I'm sure you've got a favorite film there.
Too many. Yeah.
I was like, that's the one you want to ask. You asked the wrong one, man.
Oh man, I'll tell you. So obviously I like films. I make films. But I find like myself in different points of my life cycling through different types of films. For the longest time, I like probably last 4 or 5 years, I've loved heavy drama. Just not melodrama, but like heavy drama with some comedy, kind of similar to the stuff I make. And then the last year or two, I've been really into like surrealism and just kind of weird films, animation. I love Waking Life. That's a great film. Just a bunch of crazy stuff. And so I've kind of fused those elements. And I think that's kind of like why Panda Bear exists, because it's kind of a fusion of the two. And then lately I've been just falling back into like my favorite films, because I didn't used to rewatch films for the longest time, because I'm always like, there's so much more I want to watch that I haven't seen. I don't want to rewatch something. But now, since the pandemic started, I've actually rewatched a ton of movies, and I think it's been like part for comfort, part for just familiarity, and then just also to like look at them with new eyes, because a lot of these movies I hadn't seen since like high school.
Sure.
And obviously, like, I have a way different perspective on films as a filmmaker, where I was not a filmmaker then. And so it's like I look at them very differently. It's almost like watching them again for the first time.
I have a question for everyone.
Yeah.
What's a movie you guys can recite word from word?
Ooh.
Oh man. Well, we drove my mom nuts when we went down to. This was when I was a teenager.
I love how nonchalant he said it. Like,
He's like,
we
"I
just
got
drove my
one."
mom, right? I got it.
My best friend, my mom and I, we drove down to Florida. And my best friend and I recited the entire Monty Python and the Holy Grail movie from start to finish. Drove her just.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, there's a few movies like Clue.
What was the best quote from the first movie?
Oh, from Monty Python? Oh,
yeah, Monty Python.
There's so many. Well, it's more like conversations. So like there's one conversation about where they get the coconuts while they're in London, they're in Britain. And it starts this whole conversation about carrying them and on swallows, and it's just it's hilarious, And then I think the other one that I can recite almost word for word, because it's one of the greatest comedies I think ever, is Blazing Saddles. I love Blazing Saddles, and if people take that film wrong, you're not paying attention to how it was written, because the film it's got great commentary. The dialogue is hilarious, and if people actually watch it, because it's got a bad rep. Go, oh well, it's very racist. I'm like, are you paying attention? I'm like, Cleveland Little's character is the smartest guy in the entire movie. I'm like, it's pointing out the bad things that were portrayed in Westerns. And
Richard Pryor is hilarious, man.
Oh, and Richard Pryor, yeah. I mean, he was
rest in peace.
I loved Richard Pryor, and the way he and Gene Wilder got played off each other too were hilarious.
Man, natural.
Oh, just that's comedy gold right there. Those two just hit it off, and they were good friends too in the end too. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I got a few of them, but those are a couple for sure.
Yeah, and then the time period that came out. Early 70s,
mid 70s was Blazing Saddles. He came out with Blazing Saddles and then Young Frankenstein right after. It was like a 1-2 punch, because Young Frankenstein is hilarious if you like old classic horror films. But yeah, I mean, he was supposed to get Richard Pryor for the role of Bart in Blazing Saddles, but he couldn't. So he got Cleavon Little, who hadn't done much film acting. He'd done stage acting, and it was such a great choice. I love him in that film. That film is hilarious. It still has commentary, and it's the one Mel Brooks wanted to make. He said producers tried to cut things, and he's like, no. He's like, he made sure he had creative control before he shot the film. He's like,
no, seriously,
I'm leaving this in. No. And it's but yeah, I mean, I love a lot of films, but that's one. What about you, Evan? What's your word for word movie? You got one?
That's a tough one. I think I'm gonna always fall back. It may be tried and true, but so like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that was my gateway. I think that was like my gateway because I was what was I like 4th or 5th grade when the first one came out. So
well, now I feel old. Thank you, thank you, Evan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not the best film, but like I watched it at that time.
No,
and,
it's a great film.
It just connected with me, and it's been a film that I've been able to revisit throughout my life, and I see it differently each time.
Sure.
And I love that. And at first I was like, the action is so cool, and like all the prose and philosophy and beautiful dialogue kind of went over my head. And then later in life, I was like, the cinematography is so cool, the filmmaking is so cool, and I like the dialogue. And then now that I'm a little older, I mean, it's all about that dialogue. Like I love the action sequences, but like the quote where Frodo is with Gandalf and he's talking about just like not wanting to do the whole hard thing of like dealing with the challenges of the time, and he's like, I wish it had not happened in my time. And then Gandalf's like, so do I, and so do all who live to see such times, but it's not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do at the time that is given to us.
Wow.
And it's so beautiful, and like it's kind of cheesy, right? But I love it anyway.
Was The Hobbit before or after the Lord of the Rings, bro?
Technically I'm a huge Tolkien nerd, so basically technically I think The Hobbit was written first.
Yeah.
Okay.
The movies came out like 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which the Hobbit movies, they're fine. They're pretty
good.
Yeah. But the OG Hobbit, Lord of the Rings movies are way better.
The Hobbit movie was Peter Jackson going, I'll take some money. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll take the money.
Peter like, Jackson wanted a renovation on some part of his house, and he said that will pay for it.
Yeah. He's like, let
me redo the kitchen real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, shout out to him for that's a baller move. I mean, you know what? If you've got it to do it, do it. And like, there were elements of The Hobbit. Like, I won't be completely critical. Like, there were elements of The Hobbit that were pretty good. It just did not need to be 3 movies.
No,
like, if it was 1 movie, it would have been really cool.
No. One movie was solid because you got the old animated film of the Hobbit version, which that's creepy. Gollum was creepy in that one,
right?
And that was fine. It's 1 movie, not 3. It was like the 3rd movie. You're like, oh, come on, man. Now you're just milking that, right? But he's a guy that came from indie films, and that's where I think both in music and in film, indie cinema and indie music gets kind of a stigma of going, oh, it's not that good. I'm like, well, if it's not that good, why would they hire Peter Jackson to do Lord of the Rings? Why would they choose Sam Raimi at the time to do Spider-Man, who did low budget indie horror? James Gunn. I mean, the list goes on, indie artists who suddenly have made it big. It's like, no, these guys were working for years. Like you said, David, putting in the grind, right?
For sure.
Do you have artists that influenced you quite a bit, Damien, in your music, or a favorite artist that you turn to?
Yeah. I have a couple.
Sure.
But like, I'm kind of an old soul with it. So like, my favorite artist that I connect to from an artistry aspect would be Curtis Mayfield.
Oh, nice.
Miles Davis, Isaac Hayes, Teddy Pendergrass, James Brown, and Marvin Gaye.
Oh, that's a beautiful collection right
there. Yeah, like I would say, as far as the artistry and just the presentation of my like self, for sure. But from a hip hop perspective, I'm probably going to get ridiculed for this, but this is my heart speaking. I would have to say Kanye West.
Oh,
Kanye West, because Kanye West and MF Doom, rest in peace. MF Doom for sure. My first 2 albums that I ever bought from a physical copy was Late Registration from Kanye West and Mad Villainy by MF Doom and Madlib. Those were the very first 2 hip hop albums. But growing up, the artists that I mentioned before, that's who I grew up on.
Sure, yeah.
As far as learning music and instrumentation. Also Earth, Wind, and Fire for sure.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
And Roy Ayers. Sorry.
No, but, it's okay.
I'm sorry, the list can go on, man. Like I think what it was that like I love hip hop, don't get me wrong, and I know that currently I do hip hop, but like the music that I listen to, man, like I literally have Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon vinyl right over
Mhm.
here. You know what I mean? Like I listen to Grateful Dead. Shout out to Jerry Garcia. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so many elements that I take from all aspects of music. Like that's why it's kind of hard for me to say who's my favorite artist, you know, because it's like I take different elements from different artists. But to narrow it down, I would have to say probably on from a hip hop perspective,
Mhm.
Kanye West and MF Doom
Yeah,
for
nothing wrong with
sure.
that. That's, talented individuals for sure, and
Oh
good
yeah,
music
yeah,
there. And yeah,
hmm
your other influences, those are all, I love all of those
yeah,
artists.
man.
Miles Davis, Kind of Blue is still one of the top jazz albums. I'm like, if you don't have that in your collection, you're missing
Kind
out
of
on
Blue. You know what's
that.
my favorite jazz album from him?
Mm.
Bitches Brew.
Oh, Bitches Brew is good too.
Yeah,
That's
like that's when
that's
he introduced jazz fusion.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I'm
was gonna say
saying?
that's when he was getting really into the experimental stuff
Yeah,
there, and
yeah.
then you had other artists like Sun Ra coming
hmm
out, and
hmm
then but I always loved Dizzy Gillespie too. I mean, they're just,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
all of those old art,
yeah.
the older music, people,
hmm
and I'm glad you brought that up, Damien, because I think again there's another stigma, especially for musicians who are hip hop artists, thinking that's
Yes,
all you
yes,
listen to when
yes.
that's not the case at all. You pull in your
It's
influences
not.
from all kinds of
It's
music.
not. That's why I'm very excited about my album that I'm working on right now
Mhm.
currently. It's called Damien. And this is the first time to where I found two producers who's executively producing the album and we're all, you know, producing it together or whatnot. Michael Rumpel and
Mhm.
my friend Brian. He Brian Harding, excuse me.
Mhm.
We are able to create the type of music from the people that I was inspired for, the
Sure.
people that I've mentioned at first. So this is like my first time sonically and production wise to where I can incorporate instrumentation and just actually write songs and not just raps, you know what I
Mm.
mean? So this
Yeah.
is definitely going to be like a level up within the artistry to show people like, hey, yes, I know I'm a hip hop artist and I'm probably going to be in that box until as
Mm.
long as my career lasts. But at the end of the day, I want to show people like my true inspiration. I don't clean my room listening to hip hop. I mean, I do sometimes, but like I like to listen to,
Sure.
I might listen to Santana Abraxas. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I might listen to um uh the Temptations. I might
Right.
listen to Smokey Robinson, Much Better Off. You know what I mean? So it's just it's so many moods and styles,
Mhm.
but like I come from soul, man. That's where I come from. I just can't sing. That's the only part that sucks. I can't sing, man. If I could sing, it's a wrap.
What
But
what do you
yeah,
think of that
man.
new Bruno Mars one, Silk Sonic one that they came out with? Did you hear that
Oh,
one?
Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. I
Yeah.
appreciate music like that.
Yeah.
Reason why is it's cool. I like it,
Mhm.
but I feel like in that element, okay, maybe this is kind of a cultural thing,
Mm. No, yeah.
but I will say like for like cookouts, right? Let's say
Mm.
for cookouts or just different outings, and it doesn't even have to be just a cookout,
Sure.
but it could be anything. There's certain types of music for each element,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
So if you're out, you know, vibing with the family, they're going to play the music where they grew up on
Yeah.
and reminisce,
Mhm.
right? The music that's out now, I do not want to play that when I get older. So if those are classics to us, that's going to be ancient to us by then. You know what I
Right.
mean? And which is will always be timeless. But I feel like our generation needs to learn how to create more timeless music so that we can play it when we get older and have those songs that stick to us. And I think Silk Sonic is opening the door
Mhm.
on the mainstream aspect for that type of element
Music.
to
Yeah.
come back. You know what I mean? Because we're missing that. we're missing that soul, we're missing that love frequency, we're missing that wavelength of just, oh man, you know, just like how Teddy made you feel with his baritone, just, you know, baby, come over here, let me, you know what I mean? You just, you felt, you like, okay, let me go talk to this girl real quick. Like, you know, you just feel good. It can even be your wife, girlfriend, whoever, like, you know, man. And I just think it's a dope moment for sure. Awesome. Definitely a dope moment.
Cool. Well, thank you both, gentlemen, for this quite a bit. And now this is the moment of our interview where I give you a license to shill. So, Evan, why don't you go first, sir? Where can they find you at and keep up with your next project coming up?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. If you guys want to keep up with me or Panda Barrett or anything like that, go to rocksetproductions.com. You'll find like all my movies up there. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. Evan Kidd. And then the Panda Barrett film has its own account. It is currently streaming on Amazon Prime in the US. And so if you're in the US, you can watch it there. And if you're outside of the US, it's on my Patreon, and you actually get a free director's commentary and film of my first film, Son of Clowns, for $5. So not too bad. So yeah.
Nice. And Damien, where can folks find your stuff at, sir?
Well, before I start, I just want to let the people know, like, Evan has made a lot of movies, so you guys should definitely check out all of his movies for sure.
Appreciate that.
Panda Barrett is not the only movie he made, okay? He's been in the game for a minute. But yeah, and go to Mark's YouTube page. He has enough content to keep you occupied forever. Seriously. Although I'm pretty sure Mark's been doing this longer than 5 years. But his first video is from 5 years on the account. But it's a lot of freaking content that will keep you occupied. But Mark has a dope perspective that I think you guys will enjoy because he knows how to correlate experiences from movie to real life to where all levels of people can understand, man. And I definitely appreciate you for that, Mark. So shout out to you for that.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. Thanks.
For sure, man. I do my studying, man. But yeah, you guys can check me out at all social media platforms. Kamus the Leader, KAMUSTHELEADER. YouTube channel. I think it's Kamus. Yes, Kamus Leonardo. As far as the music, all streaming platforms, Kamus Leonardo. Definitely make sure you guys tune in to Panda Barrett on Amazon Prime for sure. And all three of us, we're going to keep pushing out content, man. Just check in with us. Stay tapped in with us, man. We're just going to keep going and keep doing what we do.
Support your local artists out there.
That's right.
Exactly.
Hashtag support indie artists. So
that's it.
There you go, folks. Thank you very much, Damien. Thank you much, Evan. Hope you all enjoyed this. Links will be definitely down in the body of all this. And now we'll just say goodbye, everyone.
Oh, man. Give a shout out to my family who didn't push me away. Rhonda, Marcus, Grandma, Destiny. This is for y'all. These the type of moments that I live for. Chilling with my cousin Marcus, talking about our passions. Told him in order to start that you gotta take action. Watch out for the programs to make you all passive. United we stand. Together they fall, always shooting for the stars, so that's why I stand tall. They wanna dim your light down when they know you got glow. Then they dap you up in public just to do it for show. You too busy playing games when I'm trying to own some teams. Getting paid just to watch you from the press box. I'm still humble enough to put some work in the field. Shit is real, niggas getting murked over meals. Work a couple 9 to 5s just to pay all my bills. But I'm still my own boss cause I stay on my shit. Never let a hater tell you should settle and quit. Just let it all propel you to the top, homie. And know that you're not alone. 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 You're
not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. You trying to make history or a story? 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 It's been a minute since you heard me rap. I apologize for letting fear take control. So many years of self-doubt that has stopped my growth. But now it's go time, so miss me with that bullshit. It's so hard to say goodbye to your heart and soul. I may smile, but my heart is hurting every day. So many people trying to figure out my next move. I'm working well under pressure, keep a run to guessing. Taking all these shots, trying to run away. Coming home to granny, she know I'm going through it. And despite my bad habits, I still keep it real. Cause I always tell the truth, even when I lie. Judge a man by his choices, never by his past. When I learn, never lose, but I'm built to last. It's me against the world, now I'm all alone. I talked to Destiny, she told me that you're not alone. 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 Well, you trying to make history or a story? 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 Yup. You know what's crazy? A lot of people can live their whole lives as a caterpillar. If a caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly, that shit dies. So what do you want to be? A butterfly or a caterpillar? Fly away from the bullshit, man. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone.